We're joined here with the face of the zone and the face of Matchroom. Our guys, Chris Maddox.
Wait, are you guys friends now? Is everything okay?
We go back and forth. Yeah.
Listen, Canelo Alvarez, look, he hasn't lost since Floyd Mayweather. And not only has he lost, he's dominated since then. And these lights and this big stadium, he's used to it. How much will it affect Billy Joe Saunders, and how comfortable is Canelo Alvarez right now?
Well, I think the answer to that is you never know till it happens. Billy Joe's not boxed in this kind of environment before, probably boxed in front of 10,000, maybe his biggest crowd, but he's the kind of guy that he wants this. You know, he would rather this was full up with people than empty. So I've seen him today on social media jumping up and down, super hyped. You've got Tyson Fury, Ben Davidson's flown in as well to be in the corner, Mark Tibbs. You know, they're a very vibrant group and they're up for this. But it's just going to be one of those moments where you just don't know till he makes that walk, until he gets in the ring. Number one, if he can deal with the environment and the atmosphere. Number two, if he can fight to the levels of Canelo Alvarez. Because back home in the UK, for a long time, people have believed that Billy Joe Saunders has everything. But until you fight at that kind of level, you just don't know. So he needs to be well beyond anywhere he's ever been before. But we do believe that he has those levels in him. Can you do it on the biggest of stages at that precise moment? That's when the special fighters come out.
Right, well, you know, you're promoting both of these guys, but you're in a tough spot because no matter who wins, you have to look. I don't know if you get to jump up and down.
No, I hate it. On a serious note,
what are the odds Billy Joe fires you, like, if he loses?
No, we've still got fights under contract, Chris. Don't worry about that.
Okay, all right.
I said to Billy Joe, I said, look, this is my last fight with Canelo. I said, you've got multi-fights with me. So, right. But I really hate promoting both guys because I love to have my heart, you know, on my chest. I love to jump in the ring and celebrate. And genuinely, whoever loses tonight, I'm going to be gutted for them. So it's hard to celebrate, you know, but ultimately the guys asked me to do a job. I did it, and they get to do it on the biggest stage of all. It's just amazing to be in here. You know, if we would have pulled this off 2 years ago, it would have been sensational. But off the back of the pandemic, I feel like this is such a big night for boxing because the world's watching. You know, it's the biggest crowd in the US post-pandemic. We're actually going to have about 72, 73,000 here. It could be the biggest crowd in the world post-pandemic. And the eyes of the world will be on this event tonight.
Chris, you're not the biggest fan of Billy Joe Saunders' resume. And, I mean, look, in reality, would you be super shocked if Billy Joe pulls an upset off against Canelo Alvarez?
I would be very surprised. Couple things. I think resume matters. I think iron sharpens iron. And Billy Joe's had some quality wins. He beat Andy Lee, knocked him down twice in that fight. He beat David Lemieux in a near shutout. But other than that, where are the quality wins on his resume? At 168, where are the quality wins? Now, surprising things can happen. He's tried to get big fights in the past. It didn't work out with Gennady Golovkin. He was scheduled to face Canelo last year before all this happened. So it's not like he's avoiding the big fights. Canelo's resume is just that much stronger. And maybe more importantly, Billy Joe Saunders is one of the best jabbers in boxing. He is very slick, throws that jab extremely well. I have yet to see an opponent beat Canelo by out-jabbing him. I just don't think it can be done. Kovalev tried to do it. It didn't work. Go back further. Arislani Lara tried to do it. It didn't work. Gennady Golovkin, who has one of the best power jabs in all of boxing, he tried to do it. Officially, it didn't work. So Billy Joe Saunders, I think, is going to have to show me something different for him to get a win tonight.
That kind of shows us how special Floyd is, I guess. But now we got a new king. This is a different Canelo Alvarez.
That's a long time ago, though.
Long time.
This is a different. That's what I'm saying. This is a different Canelo Alvarez. Absolutely.
I think that Chris made a good point, but I think people are also underestimating the technical ability and the trunk movement of Canelo Alvarez. Like, people are talking about this fight like it's the boxer against the puncher. You know, and when we had that conversation about the ring earlier in the week, I kind of got the feeling Canelo wanted to give him that to kind of show him that I can box too. You know, I don't mind a big ring.
Yeah.
I don't need an 18-foot ring. You know, I can move. You know, we've seen his movements. We've seen the clips against Danny Jacobs and all these guys.
No, you said
they're both incredibly skilled.
No, you said you know, he had no issues at all with the ring. People keep referring to Lara and Trout, right? I mean, how many years ago that is? How better is Canelo Alvarez than that time, Chris?
Oh, he's massively better. His defense has improved by leaps and bounds. His timing has improved by leaps and bounds.
Power.
I mean, power, of course, but like his ability to cut off the ring. Like back in those days, when Lara was moving as much as he was, I was at that fight. Canelo wasn't so much cutting up the ring, but following him around. And people in boxing know there's a difference to that. I actually talked to Austin Trout this morning, and I was asking him, like, how does Billy Joe Saunders win this fight? He said, look, I thought I was successful early in my fight by going in and out, timing Canelo on the way in. The problem is, and he thought Billy Joe Saunders could do it, the problem is it's hard to do for 12 rounds. In his words, Canelo is relentless. So I think Billy Joe Saunders is going to have moments of success, but you have to have 12 rounds of success to beat Canelo Alvarez.
I was talking to Dave Caldwell last night.
It's not a competition of who we talk to today.
I do that a lot. People say that.
You need a bigger name, though.
And I was talking to AJ and Fury. I was talking to Dave Caldwell last night, and he said, like what happens in these fights is kind of like the mental pressure and the emotional pressure that they use with their feet and by cutting off the ring. He said he goes back to fights like Lomachenko against Campbell and Bellew against Usyk, who are 2 pound-for-pound quality fighters. And for 6 rounds, everyone was going, they could do this, and then they just adjusted, and they kind of wore the energy out of not just as much Campbell, but Bellew. Usyk's feet and his movement and his ability to cut him off was draining Bellew. And Billy Joe is in tremendous shape for this fight. His strength and conditioning guy today was saying he thinks he can go 15 rounds at David Lemieux pace, no problem at all. But it's different in there. And what Billy Joe's going to do, speaking to Ben Davison, is I think that he's going to, we know that it's a bigger ring. He ain't going to want to go anywhere near those ropes.
Right.
He'll actually be using probably 12 foot of that ring on the inside. You won't see him backing up in straight lines and going back onto the ropes. He'll be moving around the inner area of the ring. But that's going to be dangerous as well, because as soon as Canelo lands, he goes back on the ropes. And the danger in this fight, I think, is that you see the big shot land. The Amir Khan shot, the James Kirkland shot, because Billy's difficult to hit. But, Canelo's going to be letting him fire when he's in range. And, of course, we know he wants to win this fight by knockout.
Well, I spoke to Canelo Alvarez earlier this week,
Oh,
right?
did you now?
Yes, and here's the thing that impresses me. He tells me he goes into the gym not to lose weight, not to get a workout in, to learn boxing. So meaning he wants to get even better every single training camp. How scary is that? We might see something new from Canelo Alvarez tonight.
Look, we do see new things from Canelo. The first fight with Gennady Golovkin, he was moving. The second fight, he took it to Gennady Golovkin. Against Avni Yildirim in his last fight, I was sitting there with Ryan Garcia, and when Canelo landed that 1-2 straight up the middle, Ryan said, I've never seen Canelo throw that combination. Even in training camp, I've never seen him throw that combination. So it's just as likely we see something new from Canelo in there that we do from Billy Joe Saunders.
Well, we've been saying all week, face the fearless. And Billy Joe says, he's never scared of anything. He's not worried to think about anything about Canelo Alvarez. But the ring situation, does that hurt that, Eddie?
No, I think the ring situation was Billy Joe felt that the world was against him here, and he wanted to stand firm. He asked for a 24-foot inside the ropes, which I've never actually seen before, and 25-20 was originally agreed this week, and he wanted to push it to 22, and he wanted me to book his flights home. So, in the end, it was a horrible conversation to have with a pound-for-pound number one, where this guy is saying he's going, and he went, it's no problem at all. And I was like, really? He said, no. So I think, like I said earlier, I think he wants to show that he can box with Billy Joe Saunders. He's not just going to go in there and be careless. He wants to show him movement. He wants to show him feints. He wants to spin off around the outside and throw shots from angles. Yeah. But, Billy Joe's got the edge. I believe in that department, because he's super slick. And I'll tell you, for the first 2 or 3 rounds, he will be razor sharp. I wouldn't be surprised. Remember the Amir Khan fight with Canelo Alvarez?
Yes.
3-4 rounds up. Amir won most of those early rounds. And he just took his time, wait for the moment. And that's why I said, I think if Canelo's going to win by stoppage tonight, I think it will be via that one spectacular knockout punch, because I think it's going to be difficult for him to lay hands on Billy Joe Saunders.
And
wait, first, who did you speak to first before you say this?
I don't know, but I'm going to FaceTime Gennady after this, that's for sure.
Okay.
There are very few fighters in the world that feel invincible. Even AJ, I don't think AJ feels invincible in the ring. I believe that Canelo feels invincible in the ring. We'll have a guy on the broadcast later that knows what that feels like. Roy Jones, for like 7-8 years, was invincible. And I was asking him about this the other day. I'm like, what did that feel like? He's like, they're not faster than me, they're not stronger than me, and they can't touch me. Only a handful of fighters in this generation have felt that. Floyd Mayweather was one, and Canelo was another.
But then does that make you overlook someone?